Saturday, 13 August 2022. This is episode 28 in my This and That and What a Fuck series. And I've done a lot of soul searching the last few days about this mission to bring some news that is not normally in the mainstream. But it is time consuming and it does take a lot of work to compile these things. And it's quite clear that the traction is not really there. I've got good support, but the channel is not really growing. And last night I came to the conclusion that I should rather return to the roots of Skidmarks, or Briekmerke as it's called in Afrikaans, and make it more about me commenting on some of the crazy things I see in the news. Things that really affect our lives, but the mainstream media does not pay attention to it, and many of us don't even realize that those incidents happen. And, well, I'm going to do that. So this will be the last This and That and What a Fuck that is full of tidbits of news. I will change the format slightly to be more in line with how I see life. Now we get to this. Europeans must pay the price for supporting Ukraine, top EU diplomat. These things aren't free, urged Joseph Borrell, as unrest grows in his native Spain against the unfair sacrifices and the continent reels from surging inflation and energy rationing amid looming power shortages. EU member states have been requested to cut energy consumption to prepare for a winter crisis, but dissenting voices are coming from Madrid. Spaniards have not lived beyond our means from an energy point of view, said the Spanish energy minister. Commenting on the European goals in the conflict, Borrell stated that if Russia wins this war and occupies part of Ukrainian territory, then we Europeans will have lost and will face a much greater threat. Now, what utter bullshit is that? This makes me so angry. These political elites have elevated themselves to a super race, and they are in charge of our lives. And if I say our, this is just a method of speaking. I'm not a European Union member. I don't live there. I'm not a citizen of the EU. But the reality is, for years, the EU and NATO has been tormenting and threatening Russia up to a point where the Russian leadership could not just sit and wait, because it was quite obvious that these political elites was on a mission to destroy Russia. And now the European Union citizens are paying and will pay for what their leadership did. And don't misunderstand me. I do have empathy for the European citizens, but I have got zero sympathy. They have allowed leadership like Borrell, like Ursula von der Crazy, to take them on a road trip to hell. They allowed it. And where is the basis of all this? The basis of all this is in this woke shit that has been spread across the world, across the newspapers and in the news, and everybody wants to be tolerant and must accept this and must accept that for decency. Fuck decency. Look at the basics. How did Europe become Europe? Because strong men fought for it. They shed blood for it. They drove barbarians out of their midst. They cleaned their countries up. They created environments in which people could thrive, people could build, people could educate themselves, people could create, people could make life easier for them and their families. And then these woke fuckers, I've got no other word for it, started with this damn shit, and slowly but surely They took control over everything. And it is that cabal in Brussels that has drawn the European citizens into this bullshit. Europe could expand and grow, and every country applies their resources and their human resources to better their lives, and they trade with each other, and they get stuff from each other to make life for themselves better. Russia is the energy provider of Europe, but this Russophobia that was driven by that cabal of warmongers sitting in a shithouse and those crazy cretins in Brussels, they have decided that they have a plan for how our futures must look. They have decided what is better and best for us. Who the hell gave them the right to do it? The same as this Americans that's got the right to decide and dictate which country can trade with which country and trade with what. That is the problem. That is the problem of the Western world. And that shit is bringing people now into this nightmare. And then this Borrell idiot tells you that you must pay the price. You must pay the price for their shit ideas. I cannot understand this. But the European citizens better go and read history. Go and read, and you will understand why you actually exist. Because it was strong men that made it possible for you to have the life and the world in which you are living. Not weaklings, not gender confused rabbit dogs. Strong men. That is what makes life possible for you. And now, look where you are. You allowed that cretins in Brussels to bring this nightmare to your door. You allowed them. But it's because your societies are infected with this greenies and alphabet confused genders, and they've got dreams, but their dreams is dreams. It's not faced by reality. When those dreams get faced by reality, then they tell you, you must pay the price. I'm just going to mention this. Germany will continue to issue Schengen visas to Russian citizens. Scholz said he could hardly imagine stopping the issuance of Schengen visas to Russia. This Russophobia, this is absolutely bullshit. And then we read this. Siemens has suffered losses for the first time in 12 years. The company servicing Nord Stream missed 1.6 billion euros due to write-offs of the value of the stake in the Siemens Energy. The decision to leave Russia cost the company 442 million euros. For what? For what? For listening to that idiots in the shithouse, the warmongers. And that is why Siemens is now taking a knock. And then I get this, and I must contain myself, because I will be swearing all this right through this whole episode. Denmark will train Ukrainian military. What the fuck for? Why? Train the Ukrainian military to do what? To go and die in the Donbass? I don't know what the hell is wrong in Europe. What does Denmark have to do with Ukraine? How does Ukraine threaten Denmark's people? EC confirmed Kaliningrad position on paying for transit through Lithuania. The representative of the European Commission said at a briefing that the operations of Commerce Bank's settlements for Kaliningrad freight rail transit through Lithuania do not violate the EU sanctions regime. Violate the EU sanctions regime. Fuck the sanctions. That is where all your problems started. I cannot understand this. We have allowed idiots to take control of our lives. There are not men and women with common sense in leadership. It's all a lot of snowflakes with ideas. And you look at them, they're a bunch of weaklings. Weaklings. The men that is supposed to be your leadership. Look at that Blinken. In my days when I was a young man, a guy like Blinken wouldn't stand for 2 minutes in a bar fight. He will be out of the door and on his ear. And it won't take a lot, just a little smack, and he's out. But he's a leader. He's not a man. People need to start looking at life in real terms. Look at what happened in the Ice Ages, in the Stone Ages. Who were the people that survived? The strong ones survived. Who were the good leaders? The strong men were the good leaders, not these woke wimps. European Parliament has found no evidence of sponsorship of terrorism by Russia. This was stated by the deputy from Germany, Gunnar Beck, on the eve of the Latvian Seimas recognized Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism. Yippee! They found no evidence. And how will that work? And what will that do to make sure that your air conditioner is working? Nothing. German security chief warns of upcoming mass unrest might be co-opted by extremists. Germany could be facing mass unrest this autumn, and protests over the energy crisis could be hijacked by extremists, a regional head of the country's domestic security agency has said. What are you telling me? Einstein figured something out. This is exactly what happened in America with the BLM marches and shit, and with that Antifa, all over the world. And this is exactly what this EU and US warmongering cabal did in 2014 in the Ukraine. They hijacked a protest, and in that hijacking they arranged for a regime change. And that regime change has brought Ukraine into the shit spot it is today. They're always meddling everywhere. And now he want to blame extremists. Who the fuck created the atmosphere for that extremists to have the opportunity to act? They are cutting their citizens off from energy. They are making the people angry. And now they are scared of extremists may hijack and create riots from the protests, legitimate protests. But this is a fucking problem. Too much protesting and too little action. Just walk into those parliaments, rip those cretins out and throw them into a hole somewhere and get new leadership that look after your interest, not after their bloody agendas. This is what Europe needs. This is what the whole West needs. And then we get to South Africa, and we're looking at a point here which I will always also, I'm blaming the West for this cuck. They were instrumental in it. They sanctioned us into a situation that our government had to be changed and to become representative with a lot of idiots. And now that those idiots are in charge, that the West wanted in charge, and the whole country is fucked up beyond recognition, and there's no law, and there's no infrastructure, and there's no job, and there's no economy. Now they sit back and they go and they stir cuck in Taiwan and in Ukraine and all over the world. But we are sitting with the shit, and look what these people are doing to our citizens. This is what they are doing to our white South African farmers. And this fucking useless ANC government does not pay attention and does not recognize the fact that we've got a serious problem. And this is what happened in the Donbass. Russian-speaking people were terrorized by the regime in Kiev. And what? The bloody West were financing that. And Putin said, stop. I wish we had a Putin. Ongoing attack on South African farmers. Joop 87 and Carla 85 van Rielweek brutally attacked Monday night on their farm in Mooinooi. They are currently in Millpark Hospital ICU with critical brain injuries. The fucking useless cretins, barbarians, old people attacked and brutally hit with pipes and things. Barbarians, when will the world understand there was a reason why good, strong leaders destroyed the barbarians? And I've said it many times. Every community needs its barbarians. The barbarians are the policemen. They are the people that has the right makeup to be policemen, to be military people, to be first responders. But they are allowed to operate within a set of rules and live out their natural inclination to be barbarians. You can't have a barbarian as a teacher. He doesn't have it to teach children. But you cannot take a Sunday school teacher and make him a policeman. It will be a balsa. But the fact of the matter is, basic rules and principles has been abandoned. I'm just going to mention this one response to that brutality to that old people. Despite the sheer horror and total unacceptability of this, why is it always so damn brutal and violent? Yes, it's a good question. But the fact of the matter is, because those fucking barbarians get away with these things. 100 years ago, they would have been hunted down and killed on the spot. But no, today, they will go to court and they will go through 7 months of trials, and then they will be fined with $50 and sent home and tell them not to do it again. That is the problem. The barbarians must be exterminated, otherwise the society cannot grow. And then there's this response, hate crime. Why can't they just tie them up and take what they want? Why must these demon dogs hurt or kill? And I don't agree with what she says, but I can understand why she's saying it. The first question shouldn't be, why can't they just tie them up? The first question is, what the fuck are they doing in those people's house? And then Bully has got a thing, because they hate you and they enjoy doing it to your own kind, but they know we won't fight back because the government got their backs and nobody has yours, not even your own. They just pretend they do. And think about that. Think hard about that. And then we get to this green shit. This Al Gore started this, and where is he today? Filthy rich, and the sea level hasn't changed by 1 millimeter. The North Pole will be ice-free in the summer by 2013 because of man-made global warming. And then in 2021, nope, it's still cold. This cock must also stop. They are talking shit, and the people are buying it. And then I see something like this, and it makes me very angry. The crass logic of net zero. Scotland cuts down 14 million trees to make way for wind turbines. What the fuck is that? And are the Scottish people idiots? How are they allowing that government to do something stupid like this? But, Moses 6 verse 7, stupid people must suffer. And then we get this little picture, and I want you to take a good look at it and just think for yourself, because that is reality. That is the truth. And it is time that these mentally disturbed people get thrown into asylums. They cannot be in amongst us. They are dangerous. And now we get to this. Tehran pays first important order with crypto. Iran has placed the first international impact order using $10 million worth of cryptocurrency this week. And for me, this is a good news. This is a good story. That trade is happening, and it's happening in crypto and not in dollars. And everything in this world that moves away from the dollar will get my support. And then we get this. Meer cards are expected to be available in Cuba by the end of this year. This was announced by the Cuban ambassador to the Russian Federation. And I like this. Also, another brick in the wall of the global revolution. Another opportunity for people to get rid of MasterCard and Visa and break that monopoly. Yes, it's not going to be easy, but it will happen. And then there's this. Iran will start joint production of satellites with Russia. This was announced by the Minister of Communications with Information Technology of Iran. I like this. It is good, and we should all be cheering for this. It shows that technology is expanding. Things are happening that can make all of our lives easier. And it is happening outside the monopoly of the West. And then we get to this. Another thing that makes me angry. The Russian foreign ministry said that the ships with food from the Ukraine go to Western ports past Africa. Let us recall that the package of documents signed in Istanbul included agreements not only on the export of grain from 3 Ukrainian ports that began a week and a half ago, but also on the promotion of Russian food and fertilizers to world markets, which is currently not being implemented. And as usual, same story. Bullshit at the negotiating table and walk out there and do something else. Unfortunately, so far, not a single ship with grain has reached the starving countries of Africa. They go mainly to Western ports, and the range of exported goods is mainly not wheat, but corn grain, sunflower oil. And there you have it. That is why those cretins were so anxious to get those ships out. Not for the starving people of the third world, but for the Western cities that needs these things for themselves. This is what happened here, once again. And then there's this message, just a reminder. The world's poor is starving by Kiev's broken grain boat guarantee. And the Russians said it from day one, that the real effect of the Ukrainian grain is not as big as the West makes it to be, and that most of the third world is buying their grain from Russia in any case. And now we get to something that makes me very angry. The World Economic Forum has revealed its latest scheme. They want to use AI to automate the censorship of which they deem hate speech and disinformation. And who the fuck elected them to take control over our lives? Who elected them? Who? I cannot understand that the world population, the Western world, the people, the men on the streets, are allowing these people to do these things. Go and rip them out of their offices and put them in holes and lock them up forever. They don't have the right to dictate to us. We did not vote for them. They just assumed that position and then started promoting that position, and the people accepted that position. Fuck the WEF. A word from the wise, listen up. The development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race, Stephen Hawking, and that is true. And then there is this little piece of truth. The psychological pandemic is a bridge to establish the agenda of the New World Order and Great Reset, and that is what it is. And we must absolutely thank our stars that we have a man like Putin that decided the World Economic Forum and the globalists and the New World Order can go to hell. And I like him for that. And then we get to that what the fuck moment. And from where? From South Africa. From our IEC. That is the body that controls our elections. Deceased people will no longer be allowed to vote from now on, says IEC chairman. What the actual fuck is that? What? What is that? Deceased people will no longer be allowed to vote. I can just throw my hands up into the air and say, where are we going? I want to apologize for being so brutal today, but I've had enough. The world is turning into shit and we're allowed it to go that way. But it is Saturday, the sun is shining. Please like, share, subscribe and all of those things. And get the stuff ready. Saturday night, you must braai.